Welcome, Slayer Nation, to another episode of George the Giant Slayer. Hello, my name is George Molo, and today I'm going to be reviewing the first two episodes of Disney Plus's new series, Hawkeye. You know, this is my favorite time of the year, even though Christmas shopping has turned into a live-action Squid Game of death-crazed dodgeball that you're trying to outwit all the shoppers as you make a break for the exit with the last PS5. Shopping, outside of the money, always comes down to quality over quantity. Television shows are no different. Use the wrong ingredients, cheapen it with cut-rate political agenda, inept writers, or amateur directors, and you end up with a dud like Netflix's Cowboy Bebop or HBO Max's Santa Inc. Spend wisely, hire the right talent, focus on story, and you can create legends such as the first 4 seasons of The Expanse. Because quality is king. And that is a great way to take aim at Disney's Hawkeye. So, sit back, buckle up, grab a Coke, and get ready to enjoy. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the like button, share with your family, friends, and coworkers. And after the video, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And here's some news for all of my subscribers. I'm going to be starting to do giveaways pretty soon to say thank you. Because thank you for all of your passion and amazing support. Because without you, I wouldn't be here. Now, after a long wait, Disney finally brings to every comic book kid and king their favorite archer, Hawkeye. Clint Barton, played by Jeremy Renner. Even though there is a short supply of his typical harder-edged and superpowered action, Renner makes the screen shine with his charm and charisma. He comes across as either a priest on sabbatical with his calm and cool exterior, or as a loving father doting on his children, which is a miracle today, given that Hollywood studios always depict fathers as deadbeat dads or bomb-throwing villains. So, hey, that's a win and we'll take it. He also comes across as an arrow primed and ready to find its target. Then we have Haley Steinfeld as 22-year-old Kate Bishop. Now, Marvel really dropped the ball here. They let her down with their approach. They constructed a character as a cross between a half Mary Sue and a hard, grounded hero. They tried to straddle the line between an almost Star Wars Rey and a witty, younger, badass Peggy Carter in order to both please the agenda and hopefully ward off any audience criticism. Here's a prime example. In one of her first exchanges between Bishop and Barton, she tells him she's the world's greatest archer in the presence of the world's greatest archer.
Some people have actually called me the world's greatest archer.
And she wasn't being sarcastic. She wasn't being funny. She was being absolutely serious. But we have to keep in mind, we can't blame this on Steinfeld. We can't lay this all at her feet and make her responsible for all the bad directing or bad writing or Marvel's machinations. She actually surprised me. She did a bang-up job. Trying to hold this schoolyard mess up, which verges on a black hole of boredom, is a tough gig for anyone. So here's some background on Kate Bishop. After suffering the traumatic loss of her father as a child, she dedicates her life to being the protector of her family, obsessively focusing on training in various martial arts, gymnastics, and the bow, which we see in an open credits montage. Now, this animated sequence is designed for one purpose. That is to convince the audience by the time that Barton and Bishop meet that she is every much the equal of the 10-year Avenger. Do you know how laughable that is? He was a 10-year Avenger, and how many years did he spend as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? 15, 20?
Find a tight corner.
Some people have actually called me the world's greatest archer.
It's ridiculous. But there are several hidden gems in this film. That's not one of them. We also have her father, who, like Clint, was depicted as a caring, loving, supporting man. He really loved his daughter before he passed away. Now, I have a sneaky suspicion, but this is just speculation. I don't think he's dead. We witnessed his funeral, but I have a funny feeling he's going to be making a return. But Marvel's approach to her character did a disservice to Steinfeld, so don't blame her for it. That approach of doing that kind of a combination between the half-perfect person and the normal human, it rarely works. So if you've come to see the Disney Plus series Hawkeye for Jeremy Renner's character, you're going to be sorely disappointed. He plays more or less a guest star in the series. Even in episode 2, where we see more of him, all of the action, directing, the emotionality, all of it is focused on Kate. Now, on the other hand, to be totally fair, if you're going to see Kate and celebrate the passing of the torch from Barton to Bishop, then guess what? Take my advice, turn a blind eye to all the bland, all the bad, and all the boring, and you might just have some fun. So, here's a synopsis of the series. We have Kate, who unwittingly gets Barton to help her as she throws herself into a mystery which turns her into a damsel in distress in need of rescuing. They join forces together to battle a local crime syndicate while staying a step ahead of his past and keeping Kate alive. Now, during this entire time, he has to fight his way home to spend time with his family during Christmas. So, now that we got all of that out of the way, it's story time, which means it's spoiler time. So I'm going to do a quick run through of episode 1 and 2. Episode 1 being called Never Meet Your Heroes. We're going to learn some new Avengers history in the opening scene, but we see it unfold from the perspective of a terrified child who at the same time is entranced by watching across the street Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye do a backwards jump off a building while shooting his bow during the 2012 Battle of New York City. We're also going to see that same battle reenacted in a Broadway musical, which is so bad that it's funny. Now, we learn that Renner has been greatly impacted by his avenging career. He's slowly going deaf while suffering some slight PTSD. He takes a break from the performance to go to the bathroom. This is a funny scene in the show. He goes to the bathroom, he's in front of the urinal, and he sees written on it, it says Thanos was right. When this guy walks up with a cell phone and says, can I take a selfie with you? It's just a quirky scene, which is like a call to everyone's obsession with social media and celebrity. Back to Bishop, we see her being punished by her mother, Eleanor, played by Vera Farmiga, taking her credit cards away from her because her daughter destroyed her school's multi-million-dollar bell tower building. Later, Mom takes Kate to a posh party where she's introduced to this mustache-looking villainous man called Jack the Cane, played by Tony Dalton. Now, the depiction that he did and the way that he performed the role, I mean, come on. It was so on the nose that it has to be a red herring. He cannot be the villain. The only thing he didn't do was twirl his mustache. So between the new fiancé and some conversations that she overheard while snooping at the party, that sets Kate on her path. Meanwhile, you have the Bartons are having a holiday Chinese dinner while they are planning out all their Christmas activities. We catch up later with a clumsy undercover Kate who's skulking around the edges of a black market auction catering to the uber wealthy. Now, the auction is selling Avengers Endgame prizes from their prior headquarters. There's a mysterious watch, Ronan's costume, and the sword. Pretty soon, Kate is caught by management as they realize she's not one of their waiters. But all of a sudden, an explosion announces the entry of the tracksuit mafia.
That's their name? That's a little on the nose, don't you think?
From there, hilarity ensues. Kate grabs the costume to mask her identity and emerges a few moments later as Ronan. This scene is a complete disaster, as we see her tossed from side to side like she's a rag doll by the burly security guards and the hooded Russian gangsters. She incorporates several of Black Widow's acrobatic assaults and attacks as she fights her way from this underground wine cellar. Finally, reaching the door and escaping this parade of heavy hitters, she's hit by a thug and then rescued by a dog. The same dog which she rescues from an oncoming car which is going to run it over. She adopts the pooch and later takes it home and feeds him a diet of pizza only. Now, it's pretty cool to see Lucky, the pizza dog from the comic books, but I was a little surprised that Disney allowed it, because you know how sensitive they are to the message of the agenda. I thought they'd be afraid about PETA protests. Well, meanwhile, we see the Bartons back at their hotel room all snug and cozy in front of the television set till Clint notices in the nightly news that he sees Ronin. He takes off in hot pursuit to stop his past from hurting any more people. He tracks down rebellious Kate, who, unbeknownst to her, the costume she is wearing has a long, long list of dead bodies attached to it, and an even longer list of underworld criminals who are looking for some sweet revenge. Seemingly having made her escape, Kate finds herself surprised as she's encircled by the gang of big bads and bad one-liners once again. Now here, it's pretty much best to call them sides of beef, because they're about 6 foot to 6'4", 200 to 270 pounds as they begin to beat the living hell out of her with rib-cracking punches and sternum-splitting kicks that would TKO any normal and superpowered human, let alone a 110-pound millennial. You see, right there, that is a prime example of bad writing, bad directing, and bad choices. Because she doesn't wince. She doesn't make a sound. She doesn't even get a boo-boo. She gets a little bit of a scratch. Finally, she makes her way into a car, locks all the doors, and as the gangsters start breaking the windows, all of a sudden we see a quick-hitting, scarf-wielding Clint make quick work of them. She runs out of the car and he grabs her, unmasks her, only to realize that she's just a kid. And from there, we slip into episode 2, aptly named Hide and Seek. Clint follows Kate back to her apartment to retrieve the Ronin outfit. He gives her a quick education on proper first aid. And there I'm going to have to pause a little bit because we're going to have an example of a bad writing choice. Remember, just in the last episode where she was tossed around like a rag doll and had the hell beat out of her, right? She didn't double over in pain. She didn't heave. She didn't do anything that a normal person would do. But here he's placing a bandage on her bobo and she winces.
You're taking it off?
Yeah, it's on wrong. I'm just going to rip it off like a Band-Aid, okay? Ready, 1, 2, no.
That just breaks the suspension of disbelief. Another poor choice on Disney's part. Well, he grabs the suit, and in time, all of a sudden, we have the tracksuit mafia show up with one bad liner after the other. But this time, they decide to throw in some Molotov cocktails. The dynamic duo takes off, fleeing the burning apartment. They spend a little while together with Kate now taking on the role of a pedestrian who's pestering him, or a junior student, but she starts asking him about any tips or tricks or hints to be a better superhero. You know, when they did it the first time, it was a good gag, but after the 6th or 7th, it just started grating my nerves. They return to the apartment after they realize they forgot the suit there. They get back there and they see that it's missing, so they take separate paths. Kate goes to have dinner with her mother and Jacques Duquesne, and Clint tracks down the suit to a Central Park LARPing society. And that plays out like a bad episode of The Brady Bunch, if any of you remember that series. It's just pathetic. It's just horrible. I actually felt bad for Jeremy Renner. He finds out that the fireman is a medieval reenactor playing a warrior, so he has to agree to his terms. And the way Renner pulled off this performance, you can feel he has this frustrated grit, but yet reserved nobility. He agrees with the fireman and to have a duel, where the fireman can end up winning in front of all of his friends and hold his hands proud and go, "I beat the great hero Hawkeye." Hawkeye agrees to this, gets the costume, and is finally secure and settled that he has it in his hands. Meanwhile, we have Kate, who has her combative dinner with her mother and her new fiancé. But before the meal is finished, she coaxes Duquesne to have a friendly fencing match that she uses as a cover to interrogate him. Barton, even though he has the outfit now, he feels a little bit unnerved. He's rattled. He doesn't want to leave the city without cleaning up Kate's mess with the mob. So he sees Kate. He wishes her good luck in her life. He hands her his number and he instructs her, do not ever call me unless it's an emergency. And they play out this little playful banter back and forth. It's kind of like not a quirky scene, but a cutesy scene. It works. It's not great. It's not bad, but it's good. Where she's telling him, I'm going to call you. He's like, no. She's like, you're going to text me. No, no. She goes, you're going to, no. He waves goodbye and he goes to track down the Russian gangsters to find the place where they can see him, grab him, and take him back to their headquarters. And of course, we know what happens next. They grab him, she tracks him down, and just as he's beginning to interrogate the tracksuit mafia, coming crashing through the skylight window is Kate Bishop. She sees Clint Barton, humiliated, duct taped to a kid's unicorn ride. Now, this is another example of how Disney continues to discredit their original crew who built their castle and their kingdom. They elect to shame the past in order to exaggerate the prowess and the promise of the new. When all they have to do, there are so many different ways that they could establish an emotional attachment between the audience and a new Hawkeye. But instead, they elect to humiliate another founding Avenger. And what does that create? That just angers the decades-long diehard fans and everyday Joes. I mean, you just piss people off. There's other ways to create the transition from the old to the new. The episode finally ends with the introduction of another Marvel D-list character called Echo, played by Alaqua Cox. Being 2021, of course, it's a 20-something-year-old deaf girl who's, of course, leading the Russian gangsters. Now, we've reached the end of episode 2. The last scene where we had Clint duct tape is actually a callback to the original Avengers film when we saw Natasha Romanoff tied to a chair being interrogated by a group of Russians. But during their interrogation, she's actually getting them to spill all their secrets. Now, could you imagine if instead of a chair, she was taped or tied to a stripper pole? How many women do you think would have said, that's a disgrace, that's a disservice to the character? And I would agree. This is why you do not shame people's heroes. So, what do I think of the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye? I'd have to say it's just a long, meandering mess. It's not great. It's not good, but it's not horrible. It has a few hidden gems here and there that you can enjoy. It's 90% boredom with like 5, maybe 10% on a good day, excitement and adrenaline exhilaration. You have the opening scene where we recreate the Avengers battle. I don't know how this cookie-cutter director did this, but it was fantastic. I mean, it's a beautiful few minutes. Then you have the battle where Clint comes and rescues Kate. That's a blink and you'll miss it, but it was really good action. You have a couple of their exchanges where they play back and forth with their words. That was really good. And the way that Marvel handled depicting the fathers, kudos to them. My hat's off. That's a win. They did a great job. But for the rest of it, it's just blah. Now, I'm going to continue reviewing the episodes, hoping that it improves. So what do I think of it as a whole? Well, I wish Marvel would wake up and stop being drunk on their success from their first 3 phases of their films. It's not those times anymore, gentlemen. And you have to remember, you've already gone down this road before when you are solely comic book producers. You failed, you went into bankruptcy, and here you are again repeating the same mistakes. Creating characters no one cares about, stories we don't give a damn about, and injecting politics that irritate people. Samba Television, which monitors streaming ratings, has already reported that the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye are down 40% compared to the last live-action Disney Plus show of Loki. Get this. The first 2 episodes were released at the same time, but between the two, they lost 200,000 viewers going into the second one. 200,000 people said, adios and vaya con Dios, mi amigo Hawkeye. We'll catch you later, bro. They weren't pleased. So it's time that Disney, Marvel, stop hunting down their old heroes and mounting their heads on their corporate boardroom walls and replacing them with politically correct crews. Now, we've reached the end of the video and you know what to do. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button, share with your family, friends, and coworkers. Hit the subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And remember, never bow down, never bend the knee. Firmly, defiant, step up, stand tall, and get busy living your best life now. Always forward. And that is a great way to draw, aim, and take aim and hit at, oh my goodness. It's the hit parade. Oh, that's lovely. She fights her way out of this underground basement only to do, I can't believe I did it again.